Hello ladies and gentlemen, in today's video we're gonna mix it up with a bit of personal account updates and as well my thoughts when it comes to both the fake collab characters. Now I still haven't bothered to really go out of my way to understand Himiko all that well, so understand that there's a reason I'm not talking about her. I don't want to speak out of my ass just to make a video, right? Of course, eventually I'll probably turn around when I focus on her, but for now I'm focusing on multiple different things, so that's why I haven't really bothered. So let's get straight into it. How about Gilgamesh? Gilgamesh is quite good, right? Quite good. Now, I would like to mention just straight off the bat at the beginning of this video, yes, I'm aware of the infinite ult loop, and yes, I'm aware of Ren being able to stack her gem energy at E1 S1 to a stupid amount to the point where she nukes enemies for like 10 million, right? But I won't be talking about those in this video because it's obviously going to get patched. There's absolutely zero reason to give it any thought knowing it's going to get patched. So understand that I'm not going to really go over this. So when it comes to Gilgamesh, he has obviously one best in slot team, and then he has another team where he's also actually pretty decent in. So the first one is the most obvious one with Saber. This guy's basically half of his kit was made to fully synergize with Saber. So obviously Saber x Gilgamesh is going to be a very strong team, and that it is. It has very good clears against endgame content. It looks quite promising, and Gilga even has a pretty nice E1 where he shares his King's Acknowledgement defense shred buff to everyone on the party, and this is 30% defense shred. However, not only this, he also increases his own ER gen capabilities, and then there's like a small 25% attack buff that doesn't really matter all that much, right? However, one thing to note is that he is a massive glow up for Saber. It's not even close. This guy, it'd be no over exaggeration to say that he saves Saber. The same way Acheron kind of got saved by Emblade, the same way Firefly got saved by Dahlia, Saber has gotten saved by Gilga, which is awesome. Saber mains have needed this for quite a long time coming. Unlike Archer, who kept getting indirectly buffed through Sparkle Nova Flare, then Sparkle Nova is free, Saber hasn't gotten anything like that, and unlike Archer, she was never given for free like him, meaning most people were like, oh, why the fuck would I go for Saber when not only Archer is free, his best in slot support is free, and he's stronger, right? So this is really nice of them to do. And then after this, you have the second Gilga team, which in my opinion, this is his second best one, which is Gilga, Ashvale, and as well as Emblade, right? I do believe this is actually one of the strongest, if not the current strongest variant of the Ashvale Emblade wheelchair team. The reason for this is there actually is, to some extent, a decent synergy with Gilga and these two characters. For those who don't know, Gilga will regen his own ult's energy after allies use up their own ult, and Ashvale does get his ultimate decently quickly in comparison to other characters, and Emblade can also possibly do this depending on how frequently he's attacked and of course his investment levels. So this means Gilga is actually able to get fed ultimates quite well, and on top of this, Gilga has a pretty strong ultimate and sub DPS capabilities, right? By this I mean Gilga usually gives around 100+% crit damage and 100+% attack to everybody on the team. Now, of course, Blade, being an HP scaler, can't take advantage of the attack buff. However, Ashvale can take full advantage of it, and Emblade can at least still take advantage of the crit damage buffs. However, not only this, once again, because of Gilga's E1, it actually ends up helping you hit exactly 100% defense shred for the entire team, because you get 30% from Gilga's E1, you get 30% from Emblade's ultimate, and then you get 40% from Ashvale's defense down. And for those who don't know, 70% to 30% might not sound significant. However, defense shred increases its value significantly more on the later end. Going from 70% to 100% nearly doubles the effectiveness of having that defense down buff at 70%, which is quite strong. You'll definitely notice the difference. And once again, there are ER gen capabilities behind his E1, meaning Gilga now has not as many issues getting ultimate. And of course, the more he attacks, not only does he do more damage, but he also helps Ashvale and Mblade also gain their ults and do their damage and get their attack frequency, right? So although I imagine Avin with the Blade Ashvale team will obviously be stronger, considering he's basically targeted for them, it is important to note that Gilga's free, and Gilga's synergy with the Mblade plus Ashvale team is actually quite promising. And considering E1 as 0 is technically 1 cost for Gilga, and there's that really decent synergy with the entire team, I'd actually say I wouldn't, knock anybody for pulling Gilga and putting him in the Ashvale Mblade team if they really like him. It's not really cope, in all honesty, right? It's not cope. It genuinely performs quite well, despite what many people may think. So those are my thoughts on Gilga. Next we go to Ren, right? Ren looks quite good as an Archer sub DPS. Now, of course, she isn't what Gilga is to Saber, because Archer doesn't need that. Archer was the one who was continuously getting indirectly buffed. If she was the equivalent of a Gilga to Archer, then Archer would be the most broken DPS, and it wouldn't even be close. However, she is a buff nonetheless, which is quite nice. Now, when being ran as a sub DPS with Archer, I will say her damage output matters less. Once again, with the Ren being able to nuke bosses and all that stuff, that is specifically a weird interaction with her E1 at certain investments, right, on a weird team. It's obviously not intended. So I'm only going to be talking about her intended damage. It doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look great, which is normal, right? This is a sub DPS, and Archer already carries a majority of the team's damage. On top of this, Ren gives quite a bit of buffing to Archer as well. It's like 20% defense shred plus something else, right? And on top of this, their joint attack is easier to activate in comparison to Gilga plus Sabers. And the joint attack for Ren and as well as Archer is that if he's at 2 or less skill points, then Ren and Archer will end up doing a joint attack, in which not only do you do a bit of damage, but it also generates 4 more skill points for Archer, which is really nice. Now, here's the thing. I've been saying this for quite a while now, since Nova Sparkle, and especially now. E1 Archer's value has never been lower. It is genuinely astronomically low because of the way Ren's kit works now. It's just not worth it. You can basically get 4 to 5 arrows guaranteed on every single Archer turn, no matter what, with a Ren Sparkle team. So E1 Archer is really mid, in my opinion, right? It is really mid, because obviously the more Archer is able to max out the amount of arrows he uses per skill, the less valuable an E1 is going to be. That gives him 2 skill points after using 3 arrows. So despite all the glaze that E1 Archer has gotten for like the past few patches or even the last year, the reality is that at this current point in time, his E1 just isn't good, right? It's just devalued so fucking much at this point because of him getting all these supports that fix his flaws. It's not necessary. And to many people, this may actually be a good thing. For example, let's say you are a newer player and you're not interested in the Saber Gilgamesh comp, but you are interested in the Archer Ren comp. You might think that, oh, I missed out on the originally free Archer, so I don't have him at E1. I don't know if it's worth it to get him at E0. It would be good news for me to say that E0 Archer and E1 Archer really aren't all that much different anymore, considering best in slot team with Nova Sparkle and Ren. So you don't really have anything to sweat about, right? So Ren looks good, does her job, decent sub DPS numbers, perfect for fixing the final issues that Archer, in my opinion, has left. And then Gilga, this guy's basically a Dahlia level upgrade for Saber. However, he also has a secondary team with Asheville and Emblade, which isn't really cope. It actually does perform quite well. So for those who don't want to use Gilga with Saber, that's definitely an option you can go down. In my opinion, these two characters are amazing. Absolutely perfect. My original predictions for what the fake collab kits would look like was Gilga main DPS, and Ren would be this Cyrene-esque support for every single fake DPS. However, this isn't all that much worse either. To be honest, this might actually be better for a lot of people out there. So I have zero complaints. I think they've genuinely knocked these kits out of the park. Once again, all they have to do is fix a few things when it comes to bugs like infinite ult loops and, you know, Rin doing 10 million skills at E1S1, right? Interactions like that will obviously get changed, and they'll obviously change to be what was intended. But I kind of get what is intended, and it looks great, right? So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace out.